So for number 1, you got to tell the people at your table what you put. If anybody put A, you put on your red light. Anybody put B, you put on your white light, and so forth and so on. Okay? You don't have to announce it to the world, but you have to tell the people at your table. So I can see the lights, and it gives me an idea of what's what. Okay? All right. Who's flashing? Y'all don't even have what's your color? For the two of you. Y'all don't even have your papers in front of you. The two of you listen to anything I say? Emma, he's a bad influence on you. Here, y'all look at me. She's just putting on the blue light because everybody else did. That's not the way this works. Okay. Are we all good? Was this one a fairly simple one? This is a system of linear and nonlinear, but it's still just where they intersect. And so they intersect at 4, 5. That's a pretty simple question, I think, right? Are we good on that? Okay. All right, so let me see your lights for number 2. Okay. All right. So we all have the same light. That's good. That means I can go quickly. Even if I go quickly, is it possible that you got one right and you guessed? Yes, absolutely. So if I need to explain more, just let me know. On the first day of a semester, Film Club has 90 members. Each day after the first day, 10 new members join the Film Club. If nobody leaves, how many members will they have 4 days after the first day? So that's 4 times 10 plus 90, 130. Doesn't even really seem like an SAT question, right? All right, let's see your lights for number 3. Okay. And be honest, even if you don't see your light up or whatever, it's fine. I need to know what to talk about. All right, linear function. What is the y-intercept? This is our y-intercept. And now I would think honestly that one of the answers would also be 8, 0 to make sure that you know which way it is, but it is 0, 8. The answer is D. Okay. We good on those? We should be good on those, I think. All right, show me what you got for number 4. Is you still having a problem? Okay. I was like, good Lord. Okay. So I see a couple colors, which is what I expected, right? In all honesty. Now, did y'all do work by hand here? Yes. Do you have to? No, but you have to know how to handle it, all right? So listen, in Desmos, we can use letters like R and S, but I think it would be better for us to actually use X and Y. And it tells us to give our solution like this. And so we know how X and Y goes. R would be X, Y would be S. So if I make this Y, this X, and this X, now let's go to Desmos, and I want you to type it in with the X's and the Y's. Type this in. That requires you to put fingers on your keyboard. What I just wrote up there. So would there be Y plus 7X equals 27, and then X equals 3. And you don't have to, now there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing work by hand, and good on you for doing it. It's not a crazy difficult question. But those of you that, y'all all got the right numbers, but some of you got them in the wrong order. If you label your X and Y, and then all I have to do is click here, my answer is 3, 6. It is not 6, 3. So if you got 6, 3, you did it correctly, but you didn't answer it correctly, all right? And by doing it on here and letting it do all that stuff for you, you're just good, and your answer is B. All right? 3, 6, yeah, 3, 6. We okay with that? Okay, so you see, you even have the right things within that order. In that order, yeah. I know, it's okay. You're definitely not the only one. Everybody good on that? We don't want to miss things because of that. All right, number 5. Let me see your lights for 5. All right, is this what we have for 5? Okay. Now, did y'all use Desmos for this? Do you remember? Did you know that you can? I think maybe you should. So let's go to Desmos. And maybe this is a reminder, maybe you never knew. But listen, they gave me a table. I want to add a table. And then let's type in the x values. They are -1, 0, 1, and 2. Type, 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 type. Do it. I'm not doing this for my health up here. And then I have 16, 17, goodness, 18, and 19. Okay. Then I can look at what I have. I can very easily see that it is increasing, right? So that eliminates 2 of my answers. Is that linear or is that exponential? Linear. It's an increasing linear function, which you might have still gotten correct, but if it's any more complicated, typing in the table and looking at it in Desmos, you can totally do. Okay? Are we good? Listen. Now, what some of you might not know, because this was a new feature last year, is that you can do a regression without having to type all the crazy stuff you had to type in Algebra 1. There's this little thing right here, and you can see your linear regression right there, and it totally looks like a linear function that works. Okay? We can change it to exponential, and it still looks pretty good. But when you look at it, it does look linear. But if you notice here, we won't get too much into the statistics of it. But if your R values are 1, that means that things are perfect. When we change it to exponential, it's close to 1, but it's not 1, and things are all weird. So definitely linear is better here. Okay, we good? Questions? All right. Now, one thing you can do so that your Zoom gets back and clears it all out is you can just refresh, and it'll just take you back to the regular Zoom so you don't have to worry about things. All right. Let me see your lights for 6. Oh, there, you can't give me lights for 6. This should be pretty easy too, though. It's just like number 1. The solution, this is the solution. So my ordered pair is 4, 1. So what's my answer? 4. Okay, we all good on that? Yeah. All right. The range. Now, mean, median, mode, range, that's not something we've gone over yet. I mean, it is old business, but how do I find the range of a set of numbers? Subtract the biggest and the smallest. So this is the biggest. This is the smallest. 52 minus 23. You have Desmos. Use it to do your subtraction as well so you don't make a ridiculous mistake when you subtract, right? What do we get, 29? 29 is your answer. Okay, but we will go back over all those measures of central tendency stuff. All right, let me see your lights for 8. There's only 2 of you. Thank you. All right, so let's talk about geometry stuff, all right? It tells me the lines are parallel, right? Now listen, even if you thought this was easy, you could have other questions regarding the parallel lines. Guys, I'll cut it out. I have 8 angles here, right? If you have parallel lines cut by a transversal, the relationship between any 2 of those angles, it's either going to be congruent or it's going to be supplementary. Those are your only 2 options. It says not drawn to scale. But if these lines look parallel, and then you can kind of go by the way things look, which is not a great, I don't like saying that as a math teacher, but if you have acute and obtuse, all the obtuse angles are congruent, all the acute angles are congruent. These are vertical angles, which are congruent, but even alternate interior, same side interior, those sorts of things, like these two would have to be supplementary, these two would have to be congruent, and so that means that the value of x is equal to 145. Okay? Little geometry review there. All right, let me see what you got for 9. Okay, we good for 9? All right, so if you miss 9, I'm thinking it's because you got lazy with your reading because there's lots of words. But definitely not a difficult question. We've got this equation. It represents the number of minutes of daylight. X is the daylight. Y is the non-daylight. If this day, where is there so much talking? If this day has 670 minutes of daylight, so that's X. X is 670. How many minutes of non-daylight? That's plus Y equals 1440. I mean, only one thing makes sense, right? Subtracting it, and you get B, which I think what you all got. Are we good on that? All right, let me see what you got for 10. A black light. You're right. We do need another color for that. Okay. So let's look at. I see a few different colors here and a non-color, right? Scott, did you just skip it or just not know what to do? Okay. So Scott selected 20 employees at random from 400 employees. He found that 16 of the employees from his sample were enrolled in exactly 3 professional development courses. Lots of words, lots of numbers in there, right? Based on his findings, which of the following is the best estimate of the number of employees at the company who are enrolled in exactly 3 professional development courses? This is how they figure out how many students they think will whatever. We don't actually ask every single person. You take a random sample, figure that out, and then just see what it would be for the greater big one. So if 16 out of the 20 that he found, 16 out of the 20 were enrolled, does 4 even make any sense? No, so definitely not, because we're looking for how many would that be out of 400, right? It's definitely going to be more than 16, and you can just cross multiply here. 16 times 400, divide by 20, and you get B. Okay, and then you guessed. Did you multiply 20? I think you might have gotten lucky. I think you did get lucky on that. Yeah, and that happens sometimes. But okay, but does that make sense? Like you were trying to do a proportion. Yeah. Okay, we good? Yeah. So just multiplying the 16 times 20, it only works because of the numbers that were actually used. It was kind of a coincidence, but we good? All right. Let me see what you got for 11. All right, so let me show you something on Desmos because I think we all got this one right. And again, this is not a difficult question. I'm not saying you would have to have Desmos for this. But if it were a more complicated equation, let me show you what you can do. Remember how we had 2 equations? The other day we had 2y equals, and then whatever was here was the same, so we set them equal to each other. If I undo that here and make this 4x minus 28 and this negative 24, you see what I'm doing there? Okay, so if we do that in Desmos, go over here and do that. Let's put in, everybody type, y equals what I just wrote down, 4x minus 28, and then y equals negative 24. Okay, now again, you solving that equation is not complicated at all, but could be a more complicated question. If I zoom out right here, this is where they intersect. I know y is 24, x is 1. It's solved for x for me. You see how that works? It's solved for x, so I didn't even have to solve for x. So now I know that x is 1, which hopefully is what you got anyway when you solved it. And then 1 minus 7 is your negative 6. Okay, so just another way to use Desmos to help you solve equations when it is necessary. But I definitely would. How many of us make mistakes sometimes adding and subtracting positive and negative, or just any numbers? Well, me too, right? All of us. So even if when you're going to add 28 over here, maybe use the Desmos to help you with that stuff so we don't make ridiculous mistakes. All right, 12. Let me see your lights for 12. Okay, we good? All right, so a lot of words again, right? Snowstorm in a certain town. Minimum is 0.6. Maximum, 1.8. Which inequality is true for the values of S, where it represents the rate of snowfall? So we put S between the minimum and maximum, D. Good job. We good so far? All right. Let me see. Oh, you can't give me lights for 13. But tell me, and I kind of want to look, on 13, did you do a lot of work? Like, did you do some work by hand? Okay. If the answer is yes, totally fine. Did we have to? No. Look what we can do. Go back over to Desmos and refresh it so everything goes back to normal. And let's type those in. We've got y equals 4x. So everybody type y equals 4x. And y equals, some of y'all aren't typing, x squared minus 12. Right. Now, this is a system of equations. I have two equations in two variables. Here is an intersection point right there, -2, -8. Is my answer -2? No, why not? Because it's not greater than 0. I have two answers. It intersects at two different places, here and here, but it clearly says x is greater than 0, and so your answer is 6. And if you did the work by hand again, totally fine, absolutely nothing wrong with that. You just don't necessarily need to here, okay? Gael, sit up or I'm going to hit you with the tray that you dropped on the floor. We good? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Don't try me because I will. I'm even recording, and I said it, and I will. All right. Questions on that one? All right. So that was 6. We all good on that? So you don't have to. If you did do something, you'd have to factor and do all that, and you're capable of it, 100%. But if you can use Desmos, it's totally fine. All right. 11. Okay, you can't show me your answers here, but again, lots of words. A store sells 2 different size containers of blueberries. The store sells on the blueberries total this amount. Here's my equation. And X is the number of smaller containers. Y is the number of larger containers. According to the equation, what is the price in dollars of each smaller container? Is there anything to solve? No. It's the price times how many containers. The price times how many containers equals the total price. So I just have to know, I have to be able to read which is which, and we want smaller. Smaller is X, so my answer is 451. Do I need to say all that again? Yes? Okay. All right, so listen. Let's say it again. That means everybody be quiet. Here's my equation, right? And I know that this is money. So when I multiply these two together, one of them has to be money and one of them has to be number of containers. It tells me that X is the number of smaller containers. So $4.51 times how many small containers, $6.07 times how many big containers gives me the total. All it's asking is how much for the smaller containers. It has to be this price because X is how many small containers we have. So not all questions are necessarily something you have to solve. All right? We good on that? That makes sense? Because there isn't anything to solve. Like, they didn't give me enough information to solve anything, really. We good? All right, let me see your lights for 15. We are all over the place here. Okay. So this says a right circular cylinder has a base diameter of 22 centimeters and a height of 6 centimeters. What is the volume in cubic centimeters? Well, how in the world are we supposed to know what that equation is? Reference sheet right here, which when you do it digitally is something you click on and it pops up, right? And it tells me that the volume is pi r squared h. Even if you don't remember anything from geometry, you should be able to use formulas, right? So the volume is equal to pi. What is the radius? 11. This is the diameter. This is 11 squared times the height, which is 6. Do I multiply the pi in there? No, because there's pi's in the answer. So 11 squared is 121 times 6 would have to be 700 and something. My answer is C. If you got D, then, or you guessed D because your number was bigger, then it's probably because you multiplied a pi in there. Okay. What questions do, or you use the diameter. If you really got D, then you use the diameter. Yeah, or if you guess. But do we need to guess now? No, we know what to do. All right, let me see 16. Let me see 16. What do we get for 16? Okay. So I got a few lights and I heard I guessed on this one. Let me show you why you don't have to guess. Listen, everybody listen. This question, well, first of all, doing this is something you do in Algebra 1, then you do it in Algebra 2. If you had Algebra 3, you did it then. If you had Pre-Cal, you did it then. And we're going to do it again now, and it's in college algebra. Okay? It's your transformations. Now, do you know what the equation is for this? We don't, do we? But I can come up with something random. Okay? I'm just going to say, let's just pretend like f of x equals x squared. I want to show you how to use Desmos to help you understand what is happening so you can actually answer the question. Okay, so listen, because I promise you, most of you have not done this. In Desmos, I'm going to clear it all out. I'm going to type in, and everybody type this in, f of x. So I have to go to f, or you can, on your keyboard is easier. I'm going to say f of x equals x squared. Okay, I'm just getting myself a parabola. I have defined it as f of x. Look right here. We have f of x and f of x plus 5. In the next blank, I'm going to type f of x plus 5. And then what happened to my red function? It went where? Up. It went up 5. So if you don't know what that transformation does, you make up some equation, name it f of x, g of x, whatever, and then do exactly what it shows here. Now we know that we're supposed to just go up 5. So when I look back here at this, I'm looking for one that got shifted up 5. That one went down. That one went down. These both went up, but this is the one that went up 5. Okay? So if you don't know your transformations, you can finagle things to try to figure them out, okay? Are we good? All right, let me see 17. Get 3 different answers? Okay, that's kind of what I expected too. All right. All right, so we're kind of all over the place here. We can do another proportion. All right, we have, it says at a particular track meet, the ratio of coaches to athletes is 1 to 26. If there are X coaches at the track, which of the following expressions represents the number of athletes? Okay, so the ratio of coaches to athletes, right? That's equal to coaches is X. We'll use athletes as A. Okay, well, whatever. And basically what we want to do is solve for A. I can cross multiply. 26 times X divided by 1 is 26X. So we have, or think about it this way, just logically. We have, for every one coach, there's 26 athletes. So I have 26 times as many athletes as I do coaches, so I'd have to do 26 times the number of coaches. That's my athletes right there. Okay? But do you see how you can make proportions work for you? We good? All right. Let me see your lights. Oh, yeah, your lights for 18. If I had to guess, they're going to be all over the place. All right. 18. Let me see what you got. I expected that. Okay. So I see all 4 colors, which means you all need to stop talking and listen. All right. So Kaylani used fabric measuring 5 yards in length to make each suit. So each suit, 5 yards. The relationship between the number of suits that Kaylani made, X, and the total length of fabric that she purchased, Y, is this equation right here. What is the best interpretation of 6 inches in this context? So there's a couple of things we could look at. If I look at this line, y minus 5x equals 6, I can put it in y equals mx plus b. That would be y equals 5x plus 6. Okay? So if I was to graph it, which I don't really have to graph it, but I know that my y-intercept is at 6, and then it's going to get bigger, right? So instead of, sometimes you don't know the answer straight up. So you've got to read each answer and kind of do a process of elimination. So this said Kaylani made 6 suits. Okay, well, the 5 yards, this is yards of material. This is going to have to be yards of material, right? Does 6 suits make any sense here for this? No, we don't know how many suits she made. Kaylani purchased a total of 6 yards of fabric. Well, if it takes 5 yards for each suit, you think she just purchased 6 yards? I don't think so. She used a total of 6 yards. Well, aren't B and C kind of the same? So, no. So we hope it's D. Kaylani purchased 6 yards more fabric than she used to make suits. All right? So think about it. This is the total. She subtracted the 5 for each suit, and she had 6 left over. And so we know that clearly she bought more than 6. My answer is D. Okay? So that's really a reasoning question. The one you didn't know. It's okay. But I also think when there's lots of words, sometimes you just assume it's difficult or you get in your own head, and that's not good. All right. Let's talk about 19. Let me see your lights for 19. Okay. So, I just heard, I didn't even know how to start it. I didn't answer it, which is understandable for about half of you. The other half of you better at least taken a shot if you had pre-cal with me last year. But if you didn't, so everybody listen. Even in, so those of you that haven't even talked about trig since geometry, you talked about radians about this much, and it's been a long time. So you having no clue, totally understandable. But I'm about to show you why it's totally fine, and you don't even have to understand what you're doing. But also, on the real thing, don't leave something blank because you don't know. Pick your favorite letter, okay? Don't leave anything blank. All right, so what you need to know, so this is the bare minimum for those of you that haven't talked about trig since geometry. 2 ways to measure angles, degrees and radians. Degrees are obvious, they usually have degree signs. The radians are pretty obvious for you because they will have pi's in them. They don't always have pi's in them, but on the SAT, they will have a pi in them. So that means that this is in radians. You don't have to have a good concept of that. Let's go to Desmos. What you do have to do is you have to make sure, because you could have some questions with degrees, you could have some questions with radians. So in your little settings, you can choose radians or degrees. If you're dealing with pi, make sure you have radians. And if you're not sure, like if it's, which one is actually chosen, I always click back and forth because I'm never confident. So radians is chosen. So we're good. All right. So now over here, we just type tangent, and you can go through the menus, but you can literally just type TAN, and you'll notice that it changes. And then I'm going to open my parentheses, and it was 92 pi over 3. So that is 92 pi over 3. And it gives you a number. You don't have to have any concept of that number. But because it gave me that number, which two can I eliminate right now? The positives, yeah, C and D. And then I just need to check the other ones. Here's how I check them. I type in the first answer, which is negative square root of 3. And oh, look, that's the exact same number. My answer is A. Okay? Even if you had pre-cal with me, doing it this way is fine because that's a huge number. You have other ways to do it, but do it this way on a test like this. But I feel like you probably were more confident in typing something in and trying something than if you felt like you had no idea what you were looking at. Okay? Huh? Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. We good? She had a good guess. All right. Now 20, so this was A. So for 20, this is also trig. What's your acronym for trig? SOHCAHTOA. And you have to spell it right for it to work for you, right? All right. So we're asked for the cosine of x. We're not asked for x. I don't have to solve anything. I don't need Desmos for this. This is cosine. That means adjacent over hypotenuse. So here's my angle. Across from it is the opposite side. Hypotenuse is across from the right angle. This is the adjacent side. So the cosine of x is adjacent over hypotenuse, and that's your answer, 11 over 28. Okay. We will talk through trig more before the SAT as well. Okay. Everybody good so far? Awesome. All right, we're going to stop there today.